Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Invincible Iron Man issue 6. And I overall enjoyed this issue, but there were some problems that just came in with like some certain jokes and the overall situation that presented itself. Mainly with the condensedness of all the offers that Riri Williams were getting. So, we get into it and we're kind of seeing what's going on. She's like going through Tony's Hall of Armor because his mother, Pepper, and Mary Jane have called her to pretty much offer her the space to do with as she will to be Ironheart in. And they're doing it because they're like, the world needs an Iron Man to protect it and everything. And seeing her kind of geek out over all the Iron Man stuff was pretty cool, like the Silver Centurion armor, his AI Friday. She's talking about the coding of Friday, but I don't know exactly when she was able to look at it. That's just another kind of like time condensed wise. That one wasn't really an issue. The main issue I had within this exchange was like Friday talking to AI Tony and saying that the real Tony is the one with a butthole. And I know it's supposed to be funny, but I was just like, that didn't really work for me. I was just like, okay, there's a lot of different avenues you could have went through and a lot of different avenues that like Friday and AI Tony could kind of like get into it. I just felt that it was like out of nowhere and kind of like really weird body joke to be doing like, oh yeah, the real Tony's got a butthole. I'm like, you could technically make an android like model decoy Tony that's got a butthole. Granted, it's a different kind of butthole, but it's like, okay, that's a kind of weird kind of standard to set. You are real because you have a butthole. Okay. So, then we see Riri kind of like thinking it over because she thinks of it as holy space. This is where her mentor worked, where the previous Iron Man would work, and she's talking about it as holy space. I'm like, yeah, you'd be in that kind of shadow. I can understand your reluctance. So she's kind of like gone back to her house and kind of talking with AI Tony, and he's like, well, why don't you take him up on it? What's the big deal and everything? He's like, you don't feel like you deserve it. Stop trying to psychoanalyze me and everything. And of course, oh yeah, someone from MIT's here. It's like, I didn't do anything wrong. It's like, well, you did use their resources and their grounds to do it, and they've got a good case in court. And she's like, how much is an edible arrangement? It's like, okay, yeah. So then we find out that MIT is offering to pretty much let her use their labs and everything and control the story and all of that, because previously we've seen that the news has broken of Ironheart, and at the moment it seems to be positive. I'm waiting for it to go kind of Spider-Man route and like kind of hit on her negatively, but I don't. She seems like someone who could handle it very well because she kind of doesn't really care what people think about her. Kind of like Tony. She's good in that way. She's mainly focused on fixing problems and making armor and trying to help people. And I kind of want to see how she's going to deal with that aspect of what's going on with like being the new Ironheart Iron Man, because we've seen it being dealt with like Spider-Man and Sam Wilson as Captain America. But I don't want it to become the complete central focus. Kind of just a side thing, kind of just some other kind of stuff for her to deal with, and then seeing her kind of dealing with it positively and everything, and dealing with like those people being like, hey, you're pretty cool, you're alright. So, we've got that big thing, which I think is kind of, yeah, everybody's like, oh, that'll help out and be pretty cool. I'm like, that's an institution trying to control you. I'm like, I hope she really thinks about it and kind of like does her own thing, because we see her talking with Tony to kind of show her superhero thing to kind of get her mind off of it. And he's like, why are you having a panic attack? Well, it's like, you work at a place that you have to live under the shadow and the people of Iron Man. And then the other one is essentially being controlled by a school who will try and control the story any way they want and pretty much tell you what to do and give you kind of strings for your armor. I'm like, yeah, she's got a lot to think about and a lot to be anxious about. So she's doing that and fighting the armadillo and kind of like really trying to find out about him. And he's just like, please stop being sarcastic. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I know you've had a bad year. I'm just actually really curious why you chose Armadillo. And then we see that the champions come in and offer her a spot on the champions. I'm just like, that's a lot of positive, like, oh, just out of nowhere. I wouldn't have minded if it was spread over like a couple issues, but like all at once it's like, holy shit, she's like getting too overwhelmed. It's gonna make her head pop the fuck off. So that's kind of where we see her and kind of where we end the issue. Another thing that we were seeing was a person by the name of Mr. Lucky who was talking to someone else and interested in acquiring Latveria. Because evidently Doom has just left it alone to pretty much destroy itself, essentially. And she's like, well, how much would it be to acquire it? You would just go and turn on the schools, give people food and everything, and they can give it to you. Like, oh, we have interest in Latveria. And then we see that this woman, Lucia von Bardos, has come back, and everybody's like saluting her and everything, and glad that she's back to take over Latveria and everything. And I'm like, I've never read that much into the Fantastic Four, so I don't know much about Doom and like all of the people that work in Latveria, but she looks like a pretty prominent and influential figure in Latveria, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with her. I think this is bringing a kind of like confrontation that Doom will need to team up with Riri Williams to kind of like solve or whatnot. So I think that's why it's in there and kind of where it's leading. So that'll be kind of interesting. While also seeing how Riri Williams deals with the kind of all of the positive stuff that she's gotten, and I hope that her choice at the end is to choose her own path and kind of, yes, accept the tutelage of AI Tony, but do it her own way. Because I think that would be the best option for her. So, those are my opinions on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.